Hello, my name is Hans George Campbell, and welcome to this 200th episode of the Hans Campbell Show. Today, I thought I'd tell you guys two stories from my past computer history. I think you'll find them very interesting. The first story is about my days at HackerShack, and the second story is about my days at Software Pipeline in Clackamas, Oregon. And I think you'll find these stories very interesting, especially if you lived in southeast Portland and the Clackamas, Oregon area back in the early to mid 80s. You know, I think you'll find these stories very interesting. And then afterwards, I'm going to show you the new shop. As you can tell behind me, I redid everything, and I think you guys are really going to like it. I have a lot of my favorite computers on display now, and they're labeled. Each one is labeled, you know. And I also built a new custom electronics workbench from parts that I got from Global Industrial, and I can't wait to show you that. I think you'll think it's really cool. I think you'll think it's really cool the way I did it. So yeah, I've got a lot to talk about, a lot to show you. So let's get started. Those of you that are watching, I want to welcome you to this special 200th episode of the Hans Campbell Show. I really appreciate those of you that have subscribed to my channel. I want to thank you for that. It helps the channel grow, and it gives me the incentive to continue creating wonderful content for your viewing pleasure. So I want to thank all of you that have subscribed to my channel. And those of you that have not subscribed, hey, why not? If you're into vintage computers, retro computing, and old computer hardware and software, and game playthroughs, you know, like Commodore 64 videos, Atari ST videos, Amiga videos, Apple II videos, Macintosh videos, classic PC or retro PC gaming videos, I think you're really going to enjoy this channel. So yeah, if you have not subscribed yet, hey, go ahead and subscribe. It really helps the channel out, and yeah, I appreciate it. Anyway, as most of you know that watch my channel, I worked in the electronics industry as an assembler and an engineer's assistant for over 25 years. But what you probably don't know is that it's basic. I only work for a certain time period each year because it's contract work. Most electronics assemblers and even engineers and technicians are hired through temporary agencies, and it's contract work. Well, we usually get laid off around, I say, either the middle of October or the middle of November. You know, just before Thanksgiving, the companies would lay us off. And the reason why they would do that is because they did not want to pay for all the extra bodies, like for the Thanksgiving party, the Christmas party, the New Year's party. You know, they did not want to pay for the extra bodies, all the temporary employees. So the companies would usually lay us off by the middle of November. We'd be laid off. And we would not get hired back until the last week in January or the first week in February. And the reason why they did that is because companies had until the end of January to get all their tax stuff done. Like they have to mail off, W-2 forms, whatever, to their employees, and they had till the last week in January to get that done. So a lot of companies, they wanted to wait until after they have all the tax stuff done before bringing back all the temporaries. And so, yeah, so basically each year I wasn't working in the electronics industry between the months of November, December, and January, that 3-month period, which also happens to be when a lot of stores and businesses are hiring for Christmas help. And so I had a choice, each year. Did I want to sit on my butt on unemployment, which I could have done, or did I want to get a job working in a computer store for the Christmas holidays? And I preferred to do that because I like computers, and I loved, I really enjoyed helping customers with their computer problems, and I like selling computers and selling software and things like that. And so that's what I did. And I remembered one November, I learned about this this building. It's like a nursery type building off of Southeast Division and 82nd Avenue. And the couple that owned this building, they mainly sold nursery, like plants and things like that. But they rented out the rest of the building. They had it in sections that could be rented out for people that wanted to set up their own little small business. And there was this one company in particular, this one guy, he set up a business where he bought computer stuff, like Commodore 64 computer stuff, Commodore 128, Atari 8-bit. He bought all the computer stuff, vintage computer stuff. Actually, it wasn't vintage back then, because this was the early 80s. Okay? And then he would resell that stuff and make a profit. He also sold peripherals and software and other things for these 8-bit computers. And the name of his store was HackerShack. And he rented out a portion, a section in this building. And those of you that that lived in Southeast Portland back then, during the early 80s, I'm sure that you remember the old HackerShack. And the chances are very good that I sold you your very first Commodore computer. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If you think back, you're probably going to think, oh my God, he's right. Hey honey, come here. Come here. Oh my God, you remember HackerShack? Yeah, the guy that sold us our computer? That's him. Oh my God, that's Hans. Oh my God, look. Yeah, you'll probably remember. If you really think back, you'll remember. Anyway, getting on with the story. So I walk into this building, and I go over to where HackerShack is. And the owner of HackerShack, his name was Dave. And the young man that he had working with him, I'd say he was in his early 20s, his name was Tim. And I walked in there, and it was very busy. It was on a Friday evening. I'd say like around 4 or 5 o'clock is when I went in there, when I walked in there. And it was very busy. And I decided to watch. Act like I was a customer just looking around, but what I was mainly doing was I was watching what was going on, and I was listening to what was being said to the customers. I was watching Doug and Dave, what they were doing, and then finally, they were swamped. And they could not handle. I mean, they didn't realize just how popular buying and selling computers like that would really be. It would generate a lot of traffic into their place of business. So the rush died down. I'd say like around 6:30, 7 o'clock. It died down, but that was just the calm before the storm. And so I walked up to Dave and said, Dave, I introduced myself to him and I said, hey, you need help. You really need help with these customers. Okay? I tell you what. Let me help you tonight, free of charge. You don't have to pay me. And show you what I'm capable of. And if you like what you see, I want you to hire me to work for you. And I promise you, I will make HackerShack a lot of money. Deal? He says, well, let's see what you can do. As soon as he said that, I smiled at him. Okay. And so when the customers, I knew that the customers was fixing to flood in again. That was just a calm before the storm. I knew that. I could sense it. And sure enough, here comes a bunch more customers coming in, And man, that's when I went into action. Because I've always had the gift of public speaking. And I have the potential to draw huge crowds of people whenever I talked. Especially, excuse me, especially if I was talking about something that I am very passionate about, like computers, okay? And so before long, oh my God, man, I had a huge crowd of people around me. Listen, you could hear a pin drop. People were interested. They were listening to every word I said about the Commodore VIC-20, about the Commodore 64, Commodore 128 computer, the Atari 8-bit computer, all the different things that you could do with these computers. And but within the next 2 hours, because they closed at 9, within that 2-hour period, I sold several $1,000s worth of computer hardware and software within that 2-hour period. Several $1,000s worth. And of course, at the end of the evening, Tim and Dave look at each other, and Dave looks at me, you're hired. Yeah, damn straight. No kidding. So yeah, that's how I started working for HackerShack. And after the Christmas holidays were done, starting in January, I helped him move to the corner part of the building, which gave him a lot more space, because he needed more space. Okay, his business was growing. HackerShack was growing. And I had to go back to work, my day job, electronics industry. But I told him, I said, hey, I don't mind coming in after I get off work. I get off work at 3:30. I don't mind coming in and helping out in the evening time and on the weekends, because I'm not doing anything except going to the house and maybe doing stuff on my own computer or whatever. So I don't mind coming here and helping out, working, part-time. And so he said, okay, that's fine. And so that's what I did. So, Dave was basically a motor mouth. Anytime a customer would come into the store, he would talk their head off. He would talk to them about how he started his business with just a table and $100 and something bucks, and he would just talk their head off. Now, after you heard the story once or twice, you don't want to hear it anymore, and so people would they knew his reputation. He was a motor mouth. So they would just literally, when they came through the door, they would walk right past him. And Tim, he was basically a suck ass. He sucked Dave's ass, did anything he wanted him to do, And how they had the store situated, there was a front door. And as you walk in, to the right-hand side, Dave had like this big, desk type thing that was up, high up. Like he had to go up a couple of steps to go up to it. He liked to sit up high and watch everyone down below. Like he was King Cheese or whatever, the king, I don't know, the king or something, you know. He'd sit up there watching me and Tim, you know, handling the customers and everything, you know. And anyway, like on Saturday, just before the store opened, I had to be there. I think we opened up at 10. I remember that, 10 on Saturday. And I was there at 9 o'clock, an hour early. On my own time. I didn't start getting paid until 10 o'clock. And we closed the store, of course, at 9 on Saturday. And on Sunday, we closed at 6. So I could already see a huge crowd of people each Saturday and Sunday, just gathering out front door or whatever. And while Dave and Tim were sitting up there having coffee, they would watch me vacuum the carpet, you know, getting the store ready for the customers to come in. I would vacuum the carpet, and I'd empty out the ashtrays that both Dave and Tim smoked. I'm talking stack of cigarette butts in each ashtray. They were like chain smokers, especially Dave. And so I'd empty out the ashtrays, clean out the ashtrays, I'd dust everything off, I'd vacuum the carpet really good, make everything presentable for when the customers walked into the store, right? They never helped me. Dave and Tim never helped me. And I'd also turn on some of the Commodore 64 computers, some of the Commodore 128 computers, and the Atari computers, have something interesting running on the monitor on each computer, you know, have something, you know, create an air of fun and excitement, so that when the customers come in, the store is clean, they can see stuff running on the computers, you know, and I was ready to help them, okay? And so as soon as Tim, because Tim was the one that opened the door, as soon as he opened up that front door, the customers ran right past him, right past Dave, and they went right to me. Oh yeah, I shit you not, man. They came right up to me and, whoa, one at a time here, okay? Yeah, you know. And so, yeah, I would, you know, I'd help each customer, and I sold them, you know, whatever they wanted, you know, computer, whatever, and I would help them. If they needed hands-on help, hey, come over here to this computer here, and I'll help you, you know, figure out whatever problem is you're having, you know. And of course, other people would be crowding around me, listening to everything I said, and watching everything I did, and I'd show things on the computer screens and stuff. Had a program in BASIC, like a little quick BASIC program to help them solve certain problems they're having or whatever, you know. They loved it. I loved it. And I never will forget this. I was off Monday and Tuesday. I remember a nice elderly couple, they called me, they lived up in Seattle, Washington. They called me on the phone Sunday, and they talked to me on the phone, and they were, because they heard about me. I mean, I don't know how the hell word spread way up there in Seattle, Washington, but it did. Oh yeah, people were talking about me everywhere, you know. And so they called me because they knew I would help them. And they were they're starting a new business, and they were interested in buying a complete Commodore 128 computer system, you know, the computer, the monitor, 2 1571 disk drives, a printer, and business software, and maybe a few games. And they asked me if I would help them out with that. First, did I have all that? I said, yes, we have. I can get all that for you, ready if you want. And software, yeah, we got the software, we got games, whatever you want, we've got it, you know. And I'll help you personally when you get here. And they said, fine, yeah, we'll come down and see you, and we'll buy the system from you plus the software. I said, okay, I can't wait to see you guys, you know, take care. And that was it. I didn't hear back from them. So they came down, they drove from Seattle, Washington, all the way down to southeast Portland, to HackerShack. And they walk in, of course, and Dave stops them. Well, can I help you? Can I help you guys? You know? And they said, well, we're here to see Hans. And Dave said, well, Hans is off today. He's off Tuesday and Wednesdays. Is there something I can help you with, you know? And he said, no, we want to talk to Hans. So will he be back tomorrow? And Dave said, yeah, he'll be back tomorrow. He's scheduled to work tomorrow, but he doesn't get here until in the afternoon because he has a day job, and he doesn't get here until around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, but he'll be here after 4 o'clock and afterwards. And they said, okay, my wife and I will just rent a hotel room for the night. We'll go out to eat, maybe go see a movie, and we'll be back tomorrow. What, he's going to be here by 4? We'll be back here tomorrow at 4. And so that's what they did. And Dave took offense to that. Oh, what the hell's up with this? You know, they want to see Hans, but not me, you know? And so that's, I think, when he started getting jealous of my abilities. He started getting envious of the fact that people wanted to see me. They didn't want to talk to him. They wanted to see me. And yet he was the owner of the store, of HackerShack, you know, but he was a dumbass. I would never tell him that. Well, I didn't tell him that till the very end, but we'll get to that. And so the next day, I came in at 4, and sure enough, they were there waiting for me. Are you Hans? And I said, yeah, my name's Hans. Are you the nice couple I talked to on the phone Sunday? He said, yeah, we're here to buy that Commodore 128 computer from you, and the printer, and software, and get it set up for our new business. I said, okay, come on in. I'll help you out. And so I sold them all that. And every time we sold something at HackerShack, we had to fill out a ticket as to what it was, how much each item was, and the total, and the time, the date, and all that, and the person that sold all that. Okay? And so usually we counted up the tickets on Sunday afternoon. Each week is when we counted up the tickets. And I usually sold at least 2 to 3 times as much. I mean, 2 to 3 times as much money as Dave and Tim combined. I made at least 2 or 3 times more money than they did combined. So basically, I was HackerShack's main bread and butter. I made them the big bucks. Okay? And come to find out that instead of Dave appreciating what I was doing for him, right, because I didn't have to work there. I had a day job. I'm perfectly happy working in the electronics industry. I mean, I love the electronics industry, you know, and that was my day job. I didn't have to work at HackerShack. But I enjoyed doing it. I loved helping customers. I liked talking to people about the Commodore computers, the Atari computers, you know, and the Amiga. I didn't realize that Dave was jealous of me and envious of me, and he was looking for any excuse to fire me. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He didn't appreciate what he had. Yeah. So I never will forget this Friday. That's funny. I get hired on a Friday and I get fired on a Friday. I never will forget that. This was around the evening time. I'd say around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening on Friday evening. And a guy comes in with a Macintosh SE computer because he found out that Dave buys old computers. And so he comes in, he says, Dave, I got this Macintosh SE computer here that I like to sell. And Dave said, well, how much do you want for it? And he says, well, I want $800 for it, which was a steal for that computer, because that computer is still sold for, like, I think, shit, around $3,000, you know. So $800 was a steal for that computer. And so Dave said, nah, I can't possibly give you that kind of money for it. I tell you what, the most I can give you for that computer is like $200 or $300. I'm watching this whole thing. I'm thinking, oh, Dave, you're a fucking asshole. You know how much that computer's worth. I mean, shit. The guy even had the box and everything for it. And so he said, no, I want at least $800 for it. And so after he was finished talking to Dave, I was in the corner of the store, and I waved at him. I said, hey, come here, come here. So he comes over to me, and he says, look, I am interested in buying your Macintosh SE computer, and I will pay you your asking price, okay? I can pay you $400 cash tonight. I just have to go up to the bank. We go up to the bank up here. I'll withdraw it, and I will pay you $400 cash tonight. Leave me the computer. And when I get paid next week, I will pay you the remaining $400. Okay? He said, no, I need it all one lump sum. So you're willing to pay me? I said, yeah, this has nothing to do with the store. This is between you and me, has nothing to do with the store. I will never buy anything or take anything away from the store. And so he goes back up to Dave and said, Dave, well, your employee over there is willing to pay me $800 for the computer. Why don't you just give him the money, and then he'll pay you back? What a fucking dumbass. Because when he did that, Dave said, no, I'm not going to do that. Okay? And so this guy winds up leaving HackerShack without selling his computer. I was going to buy it from him. This guy was a fucking dumbass. And so I knew that as soon as that happened, that was the excuse that Dave was looking for to fire me. And sure enough, when the store closed that evening at 9 o'clock, and we closed the doors, you know, Dave had already went upstairs to the office, because the office was upstairs. And then Tim gets a phone call, because he's sitting up there at the damn desk. Okay. And Tim tells me, hey, Hans, Dave wants to see you upstairs in the office. And I knew what it was all about. I knew what the fucking hell it was about. So I go upstairs, and he told me that he has to fire me. He has to let me go because of what happened as far as the Macintosh SE computer. And he fired me. And that's when I let Dave have it. I said, Dave, you're a dumbass. You really are. You're a fucking dumbass. I'm your main bread and butter. I'm the one that makes most of the money for your store. And you're going to fire me? What, over me wanting to buy this guy's computer? You were not interested in it. And I told this guy, this has nothing to do with the store. It's for you and me. And so he comes walking back up to you, going back up to you, trying to get the whole thing. No. You're a dumbass. You were looking for any damn excuse to fire me because you're jealous of my sales abilities and you're envious of me. Nobody wants to talk to you because you're a motor mouth. You're a damn motor mouth. And people don't like that. I mean, you keep telling the same goddamn story over and over and over again. People get tired of hearing it after the second, third time. So I can understand why they just run right past you. And Tim's your damn suck ass. He sucks your ass. I won't do that. I don't suck nobody's ass. If you're not happy with my work, fine, fire me. That's fine. But you're a dumbass. You're a fucking dumbass. And I predict, because of how stupid you are and how you do your business, how you handle your business, you're going to go out of business within the next year or two. You will be going out of business. I see that happening because you're a dumbass. And you firing me, that proves it. That proves it. You're a dumbass. And so I walked out of there, you know. Dave had my check ready for me, so he paid me in full what he owed me. I walk out of there. And I told him this, I said, Dave, another thing, I didn't need the work for you. As you know, I have a day job. I work in the electronics industry. I didn't need this job. But I enjoyed working here. I enjoyed helping people with their computers and selling computers and stuff. You're a dumbass for firing me. And so as I'm walking down the stairs, Tim looks at me. He's sorry to see me. He goes, Tim and I got along pretty good, you know. But anyway, I don't know how it happened, but the owner of this new store, the owners of this new store, Software Pipeline in Clackamas, they found out that HackerShack had fired me. Word travels fast. I don't know how they found out, but they got a hold of me. They called me on the damn phone, you know, because they got my home phone number from Tim. Tim gave them my phone number. And so they called me on the phone and said, hey, Hans, we want you to come in. We want to talk to you. I said, well, who's this? I said, this is Software Pipeline. We're starting a new store in Clackamas, and we want you to come manage our store. I said, okay, I'll drop by tomorrow evening when I get off work. And I said, okay. And so I started working at HackerShack. That's another story that's going to come up. But yeah. And then I find out from a few friends of mine that when they found out that Dave had fired me, they told Dave, man, you're a fucking dumbass for firing Hans. He was the best thing. He's the only reason why we came here to your store, to talk to him. This guy was a genius when it comes to computers and stuff. And oh man, you're a dumbass for firing Hans. We'll never shop at your store again, ever. He lost, within the first month or two, he lost over half his customer base. When they found out that he fired me, he lost over half his customers. And then within the next 6 months, he lost the rest of his customers. Oh yeah, when they found out he fired me, they all basically told him the same thing. You're a dumbass for ever firing Hans. You're a dumbass. You're stupid. And so I went back into HackerShack just to see what was going on about a year later. And he was no longer buying and reselling old computers. He was basically trying to survive by selling printers for PCs, peripherals and software for PCs, just trying to stay afloat. And I knew it's just a matter of time he's going out of business. And I told him. I walked up to him and I said, I told you that because, you know, of your stupidity, you're going to go out of business. And it looks like I'm correct. Oh, just get the fuck out of Mr. I never liked your fucking head. Get the fuck out of here. I hate you. Fuck you, Dave. Or Dave, yeah. Fuck you. You know. But, yeah. And here's another thing I found out through the grapevine. People, you know, that talk to me and tell me what happened to Dave. Apparently, because of his company name, HackerShack, Radio Shack took him to court and sued him for the use of the word shack in his business name. And Radio Shack won the lawsuit. And so Dave was forced to change his name from his company name from HackerShack to something else. And so what does he rename it? Hacker Cat, because he likes cats. And I looked at Dave and said, Dave, why would you ever rename your store to Hacker Cat? What the fuck's wrong with you? That has nothing to do with computers or anything. You renamed it Hacker Cat just because you like cats? You're a dumbass. But yeah, that was the story about me and my time at HackerShack. But if you guys think back, I mean, if any of you lived in Southeast Portland back then, which would be the early to mid-'80s, chances are very good that I sold you your first Commodore computer. If you think back, yeah, I sold you your very first Commodore computer. Anyway, it's time for a quick commercial break, and then when I come back, I'll tell you the story about my time at managing the software pipeline in Clackamas, Oregon. Okay, those of you that lived in Southeast Portland near the Clackamas Town Center, which was off of 82nd Avenue, and I think it was near, I think the freeway was 205, I think it was the freeway. You'll most likely remember the software pipeline store. And what software pipeline was, it was a store in this strip mall. It was basically a large rectangular room. And what we did, we rented software. It was basically some tables set up in the middle of the store. I remember that. When you walk in through the front door, you see the tables, right? On this side, we have the back of the store was the counter where the cash register was. Then there was a door on this side, and that would be the back room where our office was and where we kept our stock, right? But the main part of the store, when you walk in through the front door, we have the tables in the middle of the store. We had an Amiga 2000 set up here on this table. We had an Atari 1040 ST computer set up on this table here. We had a Commodore 64 system set up here. and we had an IBM compatible computer set up here. And we rented, okay, the Atari ST software would be on the wall here. The PC software would be over here. Okay. The Amiga software would be over here. And the Commodore 64 software would be over here. And the software boxes were color-coded. They had like a little small 1-inch dot on each one of the boxes. A pastel pink color dot was for the Amiga. A fluorescent green dot was the Atari ST. Yellow was the Commodore 64. And a blue dot, a blue dot was IBM PC. And how we had it all set up, we would get the software in. We would take the discs, the manual, and the code wheel, wherever else that was in there. We'd take all that out of the box. We'd put it in a Ziploc bag that had like a hanging hook on it. And we would number it, put the name of the software and everything, and how much the rental fee was, which was usually between $4 to $6. Some software was around $8, $10 for the productivity software, you know. But usually $4 to $6. And you'd rent the software for 3 days. Okay. Anyway, and then we take the box that the software was in, we take the box and we would shrink wrap it. We put the little dot on it and we'd shrink wrap the box and set up on the wall on these like little shelves. So you could take the box off the wall, look at the front, look at the back, read what the game, see what the screenshots on the back of the box were. And if you wanted to rent that piece of software, you would take the box down and bring it up to the cash register. And we would, you know, get that, because we had them, they had the software hanging up on these bags behind us. Sort of like the way you would have it hanging up on a closet. It had these, like, closet rods or whatever, you know. And so we'd pull the game out or a piece of software out, and you'd pay your rental fee and you take it with you, right? You bring it back 3 days later. Now, for every day that you were late, we would charge you $1 for every day that you're late. Okay. So then we take the box. We wouldn't put it back on the shelf until the software was returned. And then we take that box and put it back on display. Okay. And that's what we did. We rented software. It was a very successful business. I remember that. And I managed the software pipeline in Clackamas. I really enjoyed the job. Of course, I kept my day job. I worked there in the evenings and on the weekends. And I kept my day job. And they knew about my day job, working in the electronics industry. And they said, that's okay, you know. And of course, Doug and Dave was there during the daytime. And there was another employee working there during the daytime. And then they would, when I got in at 4 o'clock, they would go home. And I would be there with another employee, you know, to manage the store at night and on the weekends. I never will forget this one afternoon. This is on a Friday afternoon. For some reason, all the interesting stuff always occurred on Friday. I don't know why that is, but yeah, this was a Friday afternoon when this happened. We had just gotten in a new game for the Atari ST, Dungeon Master. I remember when we first got in Dungeon Master. And my friend Joe, because he owned an Atari ST computer, and he loved the Atari ST. That's what him and I had in common, was the Atari ST. And so he comes in that afternoon, and he says, I heard you got the new Dungeon Master. Can I see it? I said, sure. And I brought out the disc, you know. I loaded up the Atari ST computer, and I was showing him Dungeon Master. Oh my God, that's a beautiful game. Wow. You know, and I was showing him, and we were playing it a little bit, you know, and had the joystick set up and the keyboard and all that, you know. So as I was showing him Dungeon Master, right, this guy comes walking in, very rude. He sees me showing my friend Dungeon Master. He says, is that the new game, Dungeon Master? I want to rent it right now. Pull it out of the drive right now. I'm renting it right now. And I'll look at this guy like, Joe, do you want to rent this game? because you have first dibs. You were here first before this individual here, you know. And he said, nah, since he wants it that bad, you know, just let him go ahead and rent it. I'll rent it when he brings it back. I said, okay. And so the guy comes up, you know, to the front counter. I put the disc back in the bag with the instructions. I think it also had a code wheel or something, you know. And I looked at this guy. I memorized his face. I looked at him. Because I had a funny feeling I was going to have some problems with this guy. Because he was very rude. Very rude. And I immediately disliked the guy. I didn't like him. And I knew I was going to have problems with this guy. But because I was the manager of the store, I had to act professionally. You know, I had to tuck away my personal feelings, you know, and just grit my teeth and take it. But I knew I was going to have problems with him, so I remembered his face. And so, sure enough, he comes back that Sunday. He waited for the store, because I noticed he was sitting out in his truck watching the store. And I could see his face. I could see him through the truck, right? I don't know why he was doing it. It was very suspicious behavior, but he waited until the store had a lot of customers in the store. Then he decides to get out of his truck and bring back the software. He waited till the store was jam-packed with customers, thinking that he could slip in, drop the damn software off, then quickly leave. I said, no, hold on a minute. Come back. Come back here. He said, is there a problem? I said, yes, there is. There is a problem. This disc right here is not the original disc. Yes, I said, no, you're not. No, you're not. No, it's not. It's not the original disc. The original disc, you remember when you came in here Friday, and Friday afternoon, I was showing my friend Joe, you know, this game, Dungeon Master. Okay, you remember that? And how you rudely interrupted us and demanded that I rent you the game? Yes, you were very rude. And that's why I remembered your face. I memorized your face. Because I suspected I was going to have problems with you, and sure enough. This is not the original disc. Well, how can you tell? Because the original disc is dark blue. This disc is a cream colored, and the label is peeling up, sticking up. In other words, you peeled the label off the original disc and stuck it on this disc, and then stick this disc in the bag. Also, I noticed you waiting out in your truck there. Waiting out in your truck until the store was busy, and then you tried to slip in here, drop off the software, and then quickly run out. Oh, no. I knew you were up to something. So now, you owe $60. You owe the full price for this game. This game is now yours. Okay? When you pay me the $60, I'll subtract the rental fee. You pay the remaining balance. I think it was like $56. And you get the box, you get the manual and everything, because you already have the original disc. But I'm going to put a note on here that you owe. I mean, exactly what you did. And you owe for this game. Well, I want to speak to the manager right now. I mean, you're an asshole. I want to speak to the manager, you know. And I look at him and I smiled at him. You're talking to him. I am the manager of Software Pipeline. Well, you're an asshole. I'm gonna call Doug and Dave tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, Monday, I'm gonna call them and talk to you. I don't like your attitude. Well, I don't like thieves. I suggest you leave this store right now before I call security and have you arrested for theft. Get the fuck out of here. Oh, I said it just like that. The customers were stunned. They never heard me curse before. They were stunned. But they agreed with me. I said, you get out of here right now before I call security and have you arrested. Okay? Leave the store right now. And so, the next day, I came in to work because I wasn't off until Tuesday and Wednesday. So I worked Monday. So I come in Monday afternoon after I got off from my day job. And sure enough, Doug calls me into the damn office and said, hey, a customer called complaining about you. Apparently, you told him that he owed for the software. And, well, we're going to just let that slide, and he's free to come back in the store if he wants to. We worked it out with him. And that's when we had a falling out. As soon as I realized that Doug was not going to back me up, that he did not, I managed his store, and he wasn't going to back me up on this, I basically quit. That's when I quit Software Pipeline. And sure enough, when people found that out, they basically told Doug and Dave, this is a different Dave, that they're dumbasses. You're a dumbass. You lost Hans Campbell? Oh my God, man, you're a dumbass. He was the best thing that you had going for the store. We liked him. Because there was a lot of cool things that happened in Software Pipeline. I remember when Jim Drew came to visit us at Software Pipeline. He was a very interesting man. And those of you that have been involved with the Commodore 64 computer for any length of time, you'll know who Jim Drew is. And I got to meet I met him in person and talked to him. We all did. He's a very interesting person. And we had things like that happening at Software Pipeline. And we had the Amiga computer, and we also sold the Amiga computer. Okay? And so crowds of people would come into the store to hear me talk about the Amiga and what the Amiga computer was capable of doing, and I'd show them demonstrations on the Amiga. People would crowd around to see what I was doing, you know. Oh yeah, I've always had the gift of public speaking, and I would draw huge crowds of people. Oh yeah. But yeah, that was my days at Software Pipeline. I really enjoyed working there. I enjoyed working at HackerShack. I really did. I actually miss it. I miss those days. I mean, a lot of you young people, well, all of you young people today, you don't really know what it was like living during that time and being a part of it and experiencing the golden age of computers. And that time is gone. It will never be back. And I will continue telling stories from the golden age of computers in future episodes. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, so now it's time for another quick commercial break, and then I'm going to show you the new shop and my new custom electronics workbench. All right, this is the new shop. I just thought I'd show it to you guys. We'll go around and take a look at each thing. I like that poster. Got to hang it up. Okay, well, I'll start from over here. This is my workbench right here. My workbench. And yeah, Commodore 128 computer I'll be working on in a near future video. And yeah, I just thought we'll start from here. Those are legacy PC motherboards. Some magazines. Yeah. One of my Commodore 64C computers and 1541-2 disk drives, and I got the thumbstick for GEOS. That's very rare, that thumbstick. And then I got an original Kensington Expert mouse trackball. I got animation station. I got that. Got that up there. Yeah. Okay, and then let me get back a little bit. I've got some stuff stored up there on my top shelves. Up there. Okay. Yeah. And I have some disk drives stored up there, and of course I've got my VIC-20 right there, And I have all of my computers labeled. They're all labeled. Okay, they're all, you know, labeled. So, yeah. There's my Apple IIe computer. And it too is labeled. I got my HackerShack Plus computer. Okay, they're down there. Let me get down this way, you can see it. Yeah. My HackerShack Plus computer, my HackerShack SE. I got two of my 1080 style monitors down there. The one on the left I'm going to be using with my Commodore 128D computer when I set it up in my computer room. I'm working on my computer room, and when I get it done, I'll invite you guys in there and show you what I'm doing. But yeah, and there's that label there for that computer. And then I have, there's my Commodore 128D in its original box. And I got a one of my Commodore 128 computers sitting on top. I keep a lot of computer parts down there in the totes, right? And there's I got disk drives like new in the original boxes. Got all kinds of stuff stored there, 2 feet deep, so you can imagine how much stuff is stored behind those boxes. Then I have these here. Okay, two 1581 disk drives in the original boxes, Commodore 128s in the original boxes, 1571s. I got more in my storage units. A very desirable 1541-2 drive. That's the one that has, I think, the Shin-On mechanism, the more desirable Shin-On mechanism instead of the Neutronics mechanism. I've got several VIC-20s and Commodore 64s down there in their original boxes. And the brown box is an Atari 800XL computer in like new condition. There is one of my favorite HackerShack computers, the HackerShack 2 SI, and there's my HackerShack 2 CI computer right there. I'm going to recap that one this year. There's the label to it. Okay, here's one of my Atari ST computers. Yeah, I love the Atari ST. I have like 4 of them like that. I'm looking for a Mega ST. I'd love to find one. Yeah. And then here is one of my 3 Apple IIgs computers right there. That's one of them. Yeah, that's one of them. Okay. And then that's one of my prized, let me get back over here. That's one of my prized Amiga 1000 computers right there. And then there's the label right there. Okay. This here is one of my Amiga 2000 computers. Let me get back where you can see it better. But there's like one of my Amiga 2000 computers right there. Yeah, right there. And then there's the, god damn it, almost fell over. There's the label. I have all my computers labeled. Yeah, these are some of my favorite computers in my collection, so I have them proudly displayed out here. So then I got, okay, that's when I worked at NEC of America in Hillsboro, Oregon. That was my crew, my team. And I'm in the center of the picture there on the bottom. And I got more stuff there, stuff down there, stuff, you know, down there. Eventually I'm going to do a video about that microscope there, the Intel microscope, because that uses Windows XP, which I built a really nice Windows XP Vista computer recently. If you have not seen those videos, well, you should watch those. There's 2 of my drives for one of my 800XL computers. Really nice Antec 750 power supply. I'm going to be using that in a future build. I've got 2 Amiga 2000 power supplies. The one down the bottom was recapped. It's got a new fan and a new grill. So yeah, those are Macintosh drives that I gotta put gears in to the eject mechanism, so they'll eject again. But they're in pretty good shape. And then I got some Apple manuals here that go with my Apple IIe computer. There's a whole crap load of manuals that goes with that computer. Yeah. And then, okay, up on top, I've got brand new motherboards and like Mac 2CX board, brand new in the box. Mac SE Logic board, 2 of those. Yeah, brand new in their box. I got color graphics cards for the Mac 2. I've got two more Apple drives up there. I got one of my Tandy 1000 computers up there, and I got my Price Macintosh LC3 computer up there. I got the matching monitor that goes with it too. And then I have more vintage Apple motherboards and things in the box. I think those are the analog boards right there. And I have more boards up there. And then this right here is my custom made electronics workbench that I made using parts from Global Industrial. And there's my my recently acquired Tektronix multimeter. That's a really nice multimeter. Yeah, I remember back in the day, my team, when I worked at the Tektronix, we built those. So I know that that's a really nice multimeter. But yeah, brand new anti-static mat. And I went back to using my OK solder iron. It just blows the drawers off that Hakko piece of shit. Yeah, that's right, Hakko is crap. That's coming from Professional. I got stuff down there that I use. So yeah, that's another Amiga 2000 power supply I'm fixing to recap, put in a new fan, whatever. You know, I've already shown a video of me doing one of my power supplies, so yeah, that's what's going on that bench. Yeah. But yeah, here's my multimeter, Tektronix multimeter. Okay, so let me turn this light off. Got a switch there, just to show you what it's like. I got a 6-inch hole drilled up there. There's the light. That's warm white LED. But that right there is my camera boom. That's where I mount my camera when, you know, I show me working on stuff. It's also great for like my Desirable Matchbox, Desirable Hot Wheels channel, because I can show the cars here too. And yeah, and I got some things up there. But yeah, anyway, let me sit down. Anyway, that's it for this video, the special 200th episode of the Hans Campbell Show. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more exciting content. My name is Hans George Campbell, and until next time.